What's up, dudes and dudettes? It's time for another Legacy Graveyard, where I show off busted builds that are about to get nerfed. Today we're looking at WardBreak Loop. Cast on WardBreak is an exceptional support gem introduced during Mirage League. It's similar to cast when damage taken, but instead of having to take a collective amount of damage to trigger linked spells, you only have to take any amount of damage to your ward. Ward is a defensive mechanic found on expedition items. Any damage you take is reduced by your ward amount, and then your ward disappears for 1 second. We're using the basic spellcast loop setup. Cast on WardBreak with summon skeletons. We use a bunch of 2 dust jewels to reduce our skeleton duration by 99%. When the skeletons die, our heartbound loop deals damage to us, which breaks our ward again and resummons our skeletons. Ward refreshes 1 second after losing it, but this is too slow for a spellcast loop. Instead, we need to rely on another new item. Historic jewels are jewels that transform the nodes near them on your passive tree. How they transform these nodes is based on a random seed, which is the number listed on the jewel. We need a heroic tragedy that gives us several copies of regenerative runes. Regenerative runes gives our iron flasks 2 charges whenever our ward breaks. We then take as much flask charges gained passives as we can, so that our iron flask charges recover at least as many charges as they cost. We then use this enchantment to auto-activate our iron flasks when they reach maximum charges, which causes our ward to refresh. If you fell asleep during that explanation, here's the short version. Take damage, lose ward, trigger cast on WardBreak, summon skeletons, gain iron flask charges, activate iron flask, refill ward, skeletons die, take damage. Now, we have a spellcast loop. How do we abuse it? The budget version of this build uses the Olroth Bloodline Ascendancy, taking the Volatile Runes node. This triggers the Ward Shatter spell when your ward breaks, which deals AoE physical damage based on your maximum ward. Because it's not coming from an item, it can't be supported with support gems, so the developers made it very strong to make up for this. At 30,000 ward, it deals an average of 60,000 base physical damage per hit. You can use any weapons or shield with this. A good budget version is dual-wield Divinarius for the increased spell damage and critical mods. You get to 30,000 ward by equipping the Yinda's Stand unique belt. With a body armor with min-maxed armor and evasion stats. This one's a very budget self-crafted version, but you can get about 4,000 of each defense with higher base quality and perfect mods. The expensive version of this build, which is what you're seeing in this video, uses Jiquani's potential instead of Divinarius, and stacks intelligence to achieve very high flat lightning damage on our spells. We then use spells that have high damage effectiveness. I've settled on Hex Blast of Contradiction, which is comparable to a lot of other spells, but deals 200% more damage to Hex targets, which we can guarantee with ring mods or by putting a Hex in one of our loop setups. One of the benefits of playing WardBreak Loop is that your ward can get very high. With 30,000 ward, some armor, and max resistances, you're nearly unkillable. The ward acts as 30,000 flat damage reduction after armor and resistances have already applied to reduce incoming damage. With enough investment, you can AFK most pinnacle bosses and some Ubers. Here I am AFKing a nightmare boss. This is the first League build I've played that was able to comfortably down Ubers. It's an extremely fast and tanky mapper, and a pretty effective boss killer. Even on the lower damage budget build, you can comfortably AFK nightmare bosses while you make a sandwich. The only thing this build is afraid of is anything that messes with flask charges. Rare monsters with the Siphon's Flask Charges mod will turn off your loop, causing your own loop to kill you while your ward is down. I die almost exclusively to these. Now, this is Legacy Graveyard, so let's talk about what you can still do with the build after it's nerfed. First of all, you will not be able to play WardBreak Loop at all in Allflame League, because Heroic Tragedy will not be obtainable. The only place you'll be able to play this build is Standard. Cast on WardBreak is having its cooldown reduction capped at 400% when you reach 8,000 ward. I tested this, and on a Saboteur with the cooldown recovery node, your loop has a 0.2 second cooldown. It's still good enough to play, and comparable to cast on damage taken loops, and will still be just as tanky, and the mapping will still be pretty fast, but the overall DPS will drop by about 70% from what I have now, so bosses will take longer to kill. I'll put a link to my POB in the description. If you have questions or are having issues getting the loop to work, post a comment, and I'll try to answer it. The rest of this is just me blasting through an average map. Good luck in Allflame League, exiles.